Hey, I'm Colin Schindler, team lead of the Schindler Home Team, and this is the Beloit Buzz, where I sit down with local business owners and hear their stories. They're the ones who make Beloit a fun place to live, work, and play. Stick around and discover the who, the what, and the why behind Beloit's Buzz. Welcome back to the Beloit Buzz. Today I am here with Mike Davis, attorney at Nowlan Law. And let me tell you this, guys, I get to work with a lot of different attorneys, and they're not all created equal. Absolutely love working with this guy. So thank you so much for sitting down with me here today and telling us your story.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate the kind words. I'm an attorney here in Beloit. We have our office here right on the river, as you can see behind us. Wonderful view. So when clients come in, not only do you get to work with some top-notch attorneys, but you get a great view to go with it as well, right? Been an attorney for 7 years. This is a second career for me. I actually worked in healthcare beforehand. And part of the reason I left is part of the reason I love my job now. So I left healthcare because I had an impression that I'd be working with people, making lives better. I worked in a lab, so I was behind a door, never got to see patients. Now as a lawyer, I'm working with clients every day, phone calls, emails, meetings, and I really feel like I'm able to impact lives positively, and that's what I love about my job. And I think that's what makes me, like you said, not all lawyers are created equal. I think that's what makes me different because I really try and focus on service.
Yeah, it's super apparent. You're in a customer service job. It's a very high level customer service job, but this man responds to emails like you wouldn't believe. He's a very easy person to get a hold of, which is not always the case. So you left healthcare, started practicing law, or learning, and then started practicing law. What field are you in specifically, if you want to tell our watchers that?
Sure.
And why did you choose the field that you're in?
Yeah, so I'm a transactional attorney, right? And don't forget that I did go to law school for a few years. That trauma still sticks with me, so I didn't jump right from healthcare to law. I'm a transactional attorney. I classify it as I'm the good attorney, right? When things are going well. So you're buying a house, you're buying investment property, you're starting a business, you're buying a business, you're growing your business, you're working with other businesses, right? Those are usually happy moments in people's lives. So that's why I say I'm the good attorney, I'm the happy attorney. I do a lot of real estate, as I kind of touched on, more commercial than residential, but we are so close to Illinois. There is a requirement in Illinois that when you're buying a home, you have to work with a lawyer. I wish Wisconsin had that same requirement. We're cheaper than you think. We're cheaper than realtors, and we can provide a little bit of peace of mind when it comes to reviewing contracts and things like that realtors just don't have the knowledge base, right? That's not what you guys do.
Yeah.
So I wish more people came to us when we were doing it. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? And I would say probably 25% of the time I look at a residential contract, there's something that we try and tweak, or we try and make sure that there's not going to be an issue down the road. So that's kind of the residential side of things. Commercial, deal with anything from, hey, a small business is leasing a 400 square foot space to I'm buying this massive facility for my multi-million-dollar business, or leasing a space, or maybe one of your entities is buying it and they need to lease it to your other entity, and you've got an SBA loan, and so there's some unique requirements we need to hit. So that's kind of the real estate side of things. We do general corporate work, so if you have contracts that you need drafted, reviewed, non-disclosure agreements, all those kind of things that if you have a business you think of. And then kind of on the flip side, I do estate planning and I do estate administration work. So wills, trusts, things like that. And that's really, it's a smaller part of my practice, but it's the part of practice I really love because I get to meet people that I wouldn't otherwise get to meet, right? Not everybody buys a home. Not everybody owns a business. So I get to meet just everyday people, work with them, and make sure that we're taking care of their future, their kids' future, their family's future, and things like that. So that's a little bit of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you. And I do want to go back about, you being less expensive than the real estate commission that's being paid to the agents. And it's true. I see the the charge on the closing statements. And it's great, especially when there are some higher level things that are happening in a transaction. Not that you couldn't look things over in your run-of-the-mill transaction either, but for that extra peace of mind, because we are not, able to practice law. It's great to have folks like Mike here to look things over and make sure that everything is on the up and up. So.
Yeah, happy to help.
Yeah, he's always happy to help and always happy to refer this guy because of the great work that he does. So this is where you specialize in, the transactional aspect. I also do want to highlight Nowlan Law here. What other types of services are offered out of this practice?
So we're a general practice firm, which means we do pretty much everything. We do some litigation. Well, I shouldn't say we do some. We do a lot of litigation. So those are the sad attorneys, right? That's when things aren't going well, they get involved. We have family law. So unfortunately, again, sometimes things don't always work out. We have people that can get in your corner and make sure that, as a parent, as a husband, as a wife, there's someone advocating in your behalf. We have we do some low-level criminal work, right? So really the only thing we don't get involved with is your high-level criminal work. So,
okay.
But otherwise, we can help everybody and anybody. And a lot of times clients come in for one reason and they stick around and we work with them on, a myriad of other reasons, other issues. So
yeah, it does feel like, once nobody ever wants to call an attorney, even for the happy stuff,
right.
Because you want to save every dollar that you can, especially these days. But it does feel like once you're in the door and you're working with someone like you or any of the other people that I've worked with here, it's like a family situation, and you want to start exploring some of those other avenues where your firm here can be a benefit to people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the things that you touched on is we really try and treat our clients like family, right? I always tell when I'm mentoring younger attorneys, provide service like you would to your parents, right? Pretend that this client is your parent or a family member and do work for them to the same level that you would give to your family. Some people, call them a little more than you call your mom and dad. That's a good piece of advice. But we also recognize that, hey, having to call an attorney can be a scary proposition, not only because of the cost or the perceived cost, but because it's an attorney. We have this negative kind of connotation, right? And so if you come into our office, we're very casual. If you see someone in a suit, they're probably going to court. Otherwise, no one's wearing a suit, right? I go by Mike. I don't want to be called Attorney Davis. I want people to be able to have that rapport. So that's very important, right? That's speaks to the level of the service we provide.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that I can get intimidated when coming up against an attorney, but prior to this interview, sitting down and just chatting about life for the last half hour. So you're a real person.
Yeah, we're just people.
We're just people who has studied a lot. You mentioned the trauma of law school. What is that process like, or what was it like for you?
So, like I said, law is a second career. So I treated law school like a job. I wasn't going out and partying. In fact, we used to have, in law school, they have every Thursday night. It's called bar review, which is kind of double entendre. It's where everybody would relax a little bit, go out, have some fun. But because I treated law school like a job, Thursday night was a work night for me. So traditionally, law school is 3 years, 2 semesters every year. As much as I enjoyed law school, I wanted to be done, so I accelerated that and graduated in 2.5 years, which was made my wife very happy. But it's a lot, right? So you have classes during the day. I was in class pretty much from 8 until about 4 every day. I would stick around for a little bit, study. My stress reliever is to go to the gym, whether it was running, whatever. So I'd go to the gym for a couple hours, get some stress out, go home, eat some dinner, watch a little bit of TV with my wife, and then another 2 to 3 hours of reading. So that was pretty much 6 days a week. Sunday was my day off to kind of spend time with the wife, family. It was I always say, prepares you for the career based on how much work we have to put in here to make sure that we're providing service to our clients.
Yeah, there's so much to know, and it's always changing.
Always changing. Yeah, the studying never stops.
Yeah.
Right? Laws are always changing. At least one big law changes a year, right? And so whether it's the trust code, whether it's new corporate laws, whether new corporate laws come in under one president and then they get, changed under the next president. It's a dynamic field for sure.
Yeah. So if you could practice any other area of law than what you're currently practicing, and you don't get to say, I wouldn't want to practice any, you have to pick one. What other area of law would interest you?
Oh, that's a good question. So I realized I didn't answer one of your questions earlier, right? You asked me what area and why did I get into that area, right? So first off, I got into it because I didn't want to go to court. I'm very obsessive about making sure that I'm doing a good job, right? And so I knew that if I had to argue someone's case in front of a jury or in front of a judge, I would get no sleep, right? It'd be until that court date came and went, it would be 24/7, 7 days a week. And so I purposely shifted away from litigation towards transactional work. That said, I think if I could practice any area, it may be personal injury law. It's a very unique practice area, right? And I didn't mention that earlier, but we do handle a lot of personal injury. We have the best personal injury attorneys in the country. But the reason is because you're helping people that, look, they just had a really traumatic experience, whether it was a car accident, a slip and fall at, let's say, a restaurant, right? And their lives are probably changed for a long time, if not permanently. And so our personal injury attorneys advocate for people to, as best we can, make them whole, as to correct the damage that was done. That's a practice area that interests me. On the flip side, I love sports, so I'd also love to be a sports agent. I think that'd be a lot of fun, but it's kind of a difficult field to get into, and I didn't go to school for that, so I have no knowledge base.
You were in medical field before, so you
never know. Let's not close the door on that, right? Yeah.
That's great. So, out of curiosity, because AI, and I don't mean to be springing a hard question on you, because we didn't prep for any of this. But you talk about, or you hear about all the time, AI disrupting so many industries, and so many people think of that as autonomous industries. But I think that it has the potential to, yes, benefit other industries, but also potentially hurt them or make things a little bit more difficult. Would you say, or have you felt, or do you expect that AI will have any type of interruption with things that you do?
Interruption, no. So I heard a really good metaphor this fall about AI in the legal field. I think AI is going to be very useful in the legal field for putting clay on the potter's wheel, but you're still going to need lawyers to mold that clay into a final product, right? I don't think anybody will ever feel comfortable with AI judges, juries, things of that nature. So you're always going to have humans in those seats. You're probably always, I will say, you're always going to have humans in the seat of prosecutors and defense attorneys. So that's never going to change, because that human element is essential. AI is never going to understand relationships, right? Which means, again, things like estate planning. I deal with unique situations in families all the time. I don't see how AI is going to ever understand family dynamics, right? I have families that come to me, mom and dad come to me, kids get along great, there's no fighting ever, and then mom and dad are gone, and all of a sudden, 40 years of family bickering and holiday parties spills over, and the constraints that were mom and dad are gone, and now all of a sudden you have a complete shift in family dynamic. It's happened in my family, right? And I just don't think AI is going to understand that. If they can't understand it, they can't plan for it, and they can't advise clients. So I don't think you're going to have a complete AI takeover in that field either. Where you are going to have more AI integration in the legal field is drafting, right? So contracts and things like that. But again, I don't think AI is going to be able to tell everybody, this is how you need to do it, right? So I'm working with a landlord-tenant right now where there's a unique termination clause, and it's because of the nature of the two businesses. And it's actually, I should say, it's a sub-tenant and a sub-landlord, right? And so because of the nature of the businesses, there's a unique termination provision. I think that took human engineering to kind of figure out how to work that, a little bit of back and forth. And I just don't think AI would have ever been able to suggest that to these two parties without human intervention. And so because you're dealing with humans, I think you're always going to have humans in the field. But like I said, AI is going to be a very, very useful tool, time saver, which means money saver for the clients in the long run. And we're actively here at Nowlan looking at which AI tools are useful, how do we use them best. We've had an AI committee for about 2 years now that have been testing things out. And yeah, I'm really excited for what the future holds in that area.
Yeah. I always look at it as a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. So I do think that there's integrations. I don't think that it necessarily is going to interrupt your industry or put you out of a job because there's so many useful things, and we're always going to have a person involved when you're dealing with people. Do you think that it disrupts things from a standpoint of client understanding and knowledge because of some of the information that people have access to? They can type their prompt in, and now all of a sudden they know more than you do coming in here, and you have to kind of untangle that web of maybe factual information but not applicable information.
So there's two things. One, client expectations, right? We're humans. We know a lot. We have a lot of experience, but we're always learning. That's why it's called the practice of law, right? It's a practice. It's an art. I don't have the entire Wisconsin statutory code memorized. I don't have the federal code memorized. There are very unique situations that you may have one little statute that's never applied to a file before in your entire career, and then all of a sudden one day, hey, did you know that this existed, right? So AI is going to definitely be a very useful tool for finding kind of those little loopholes or whatever you want to call it, right? And that's where clients, I think, will have a little bit of an advantage because they'll say, well, I did an AI search and I found this. A good attorney, we're going to do that AI search before you do, hopefully. Although if you do it before you come to an attorney, then you may have that suggestion. And I love suggestions from clients. I love clients saying like, hey, why don't we look at it from this angle, right? Because I'm trying to frame things as how I see it. And if a client can reframe something for me, it's great because, hey, maybe I didn't look at that angle of it because I'm not in your business. I'm not in your shoes, right? And so my perception, my experience is a little bit different than yours. And so if a client uses AI and says, hey, I did some research, I found this and that, I can either say, that's great, let me verify that research. I haven't heard that before. I haven't seen that case before. I haven't seen that law before. But if that's on point and we can use it, great, let's move forward with it. But also I have had to say, AI is really taking a snippet of a full case there out of context, which it does right now. That is an issue that I've had. And you have to say, like, that doesn't actually quite mean what AI thinks it means, because you have to read this in conjunction with 6 different other, clauses, provisions, rulings, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And has that been an issue when you do have to explain the other side of that, why it doesn't apply? Or are people generally pretty
People are usually pretty understanding, right? It's very rare where someone equates their Google search with my law degree.
Yeah.
Right? I actually have a coffee mug that someone bought me that says some of it. Usually clients are pretty good, right? I mean, they just want to make sure that we're advocating for them the best that we can.
Yeah.
And again, it's service. Ego is not a thing for me when I'm working with my clients, right? If you have something that you really want me to attack or point out or work on, great. I'm going to give you my advice as to whether, as I say, the juice is worth the squeeze on it. But if you're insistent, okay, we can pursue that route as well, right? So law, we really take what we call the onion approach, right? We have layers to everything we're doing. That's why in contracts, you may see a lot of redundancy because we want to make sure that we're covering everything multiple times. Belt and suspenders is a very common legal phrase you hear in the law office. So I do get a little bit of pushback, but most of the times clients are pretty understanding. Like, oh, okay, now that you gave me the full reference, I see that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, well, you're a very easy person to talk to and dissect those things. So I don't necessarily or haven't necessarily looked at that. And I really appreciate your positive take on, yes, it can help them find a piece that may apply to them that then you can look into, or maybe it doesn't, and you can explain that. So I really like that aspect of the benefit of it in your industry rather than a detriment.
Yeah. And I mean, again, I don't want to talk poorly about any of my peers, so I won't. But my philosophy is it's a collaboratory effort, right? Like I'm your advocate, I'm your attorney. I'm not your boss. I'm not telling you how things are going to be. Even when it's estate planning, sometimes people come to me with ideas that I'm just, hey, you don't need a trust. We can accomplish all your estate planning goals without a trust. But if you want to be able to go and tell your friends that you have a trust, I'll put one together for you. That's fine, right? Just understand that there's going to be a cost difference with that. So, I mean, again, number one, I listen to my clients, and as a firm, that's one of our core values is we listen.
Yeah. All right. So maybe you can even speak about it, or maybe you can't, but is there any crazy law stories or weird snafu type situations?
Oh, boy. Well, I'll give you one that's really interesting. I had a client that bought a property out here in Beloit, and there had been a residence on it for a while, right? Off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly how long, but close to a decade. This client was from Illinois, so they were more comfortable having an attorney review everything than not. And so it came to me, at first it looked like a very straightforward transaction. But we got the title work, and there was no driveway access, right? So this is on a controlled access highways off 213, and no driveway permit had ever been issued. Basically, the whole previous homeowner put in a driveway, cut a curb, and everybody kind of went on their merry way. So the state could have come along and said, what are you doing? You don't have access to this property. So we had to make sure that the seller got the driveway permit, got the access. Otherwise, you just never know what could have happened, right?
Yeah.
There is no, I'm going to say grandfather clause or anything like that against the state. The state can tell you, nope. Sorry, no driveway.
A driveway permit is probably cheaper than a helipad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that was an interesting one, but yeah, I mean, the things that I find interesting and fun are probably different than other people. But I mean, I've had some things that just at the end of the day make you scratch your head. I had a client that their church reached out and said, hey, this family has fallen on hard times. You need some help around the house. Would you be willing to let them stay with you if they helped out around the house?
With you?
No, not me. The client. Yeah,
Gotcha.
say the client,
Okay.
And they said, yeah, I've got plenty of space. I do need some help around the house. Well, like 2 weeks or so into this couple, this family moving into the house with my client, the wheels fell off quick. And to make a long story short, a false police report was filed by the husband. My client was kicked out of his own home because a temporary restraining order was filed. And so we're fighting a temporary restraining order. We're fighting trying to get an eviction.
Oh, man.
It was a nightmare, right? And so you got to be careful who you let in your home.
Yeah. You're supposed to be the happiest.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that was a wild one. That, yeah.
Would you say, okay. So as we kind of wrap up here, is there anything else that you would like to add to let people know, or any last minute plugs or tidbits of information about yourself, your practice? Anything at all?
So part of the reason that we came down from Janesville, when I say we, I mean Nowlan, came down from Janesville to Beloit, was to help the community, right? We're here, we're trying to be a part of your community. We've been here for 3 years now. I'd say we're pretty active in the community. So, we're here to help. We're approachable. Like I said, we're just your local neighborhood small business, right? We're no different than the salon next door or the financial advisors next door. We want to make sure that everybody's world is a better place. And so, even if it seems like, hey, I've got XYZ going on. I think I can handle it myself. Come in, just give us a call. I'm happy to sit down with people for, 20, 30 minutes. I'm not going to bill you for it if we're not able to help you. So, yeah, that's kind of my thing. We're here to help. The firm is here to help. It's better to ask than to wonder what if.
Yeah. And what he's saying is incredibly true. It's a very community-oriented, hands-on approach. I've always been incredibly impressed with Mike here. I've always been incredibly impressed with everyone at Nowlan Law. And I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah, it's been great, man.
Yeah, great. Great to see you too.
You all tune in for the next episode of the Beloit Buzz.